They're goodness and gracious.
What's your name?
Julianne.
I'm Renee.
I'm Christy.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Rachel.
Well, we got that straight.
It is hard to believe it's almost Mother's Day.
I know.
This year seems to be flying by. Pretty soon, it will be camp time. And for those who don't know, our church is the main host of the Northern Ohio Youth Camp, which is pretty big. And then we have a vacation scheduled in July.
Exciting.
Woo!
Can't
And
wait.
then we will be packing shoeboxes in November for Operation Christmas Child. Then having Thanksgiving and Christmas again. And then the beginning of another year in 2024. Oh my goodness. Let me slow this podcast down and let's just stick to Mother's Day. How's that sound?
Mother's Day next year.
Mother's Day 2023. Let's just we'll stick to that one.
Okay, we'll chill a little bit. So we are thankful to have our oldest granddaughter, Juliet. She is almost 5 in like 2 weeks.
2
Yeah,
weeks.
2 weeks.
She'll be 5. We're glad she's here. She's been wanting to come on for so long, so we thought we'd bring her on for our Mother's Day. And this is my daughter, Rachel. She has 3 kiddos, and that is Christy's daughter, Jamie, she's my daughter too, but you know. And she has one little one, Token.
Token James.
Token James.
Yep.
So I think that along with some of the other holidays, Mother's Day has always been what I would call a Hallmark holiday.
Yeah.
So, you know, those holidays, they're created for the purpose of selling more greeting cards and flowers.
Yes.
But
I like flowers.
I do too. I do too. I
don't get
killed
them much.
them. I killed
I
them.
do too, but you know.
yeah. Mothers should be celebrated, especially by Christians. To God, mothers are special. They're very special people. There are
Some moms.
You brag.
Well, moms are super special.
We're not talking about that kind of special name.
Special K. Special K. There are many places in Scripture where, although God is clearly referenced as he actually compares himself to a mother when it comes to loving and protecting his people. Exodus 20:12, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth. So in the 10 Commandments, Commandment number 5 says to honor your mother, your father too, but we're focusing on the mother today. So it sounds like mothers are a pretty big deal. Proverbs 31:10 says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Verse 28 says, her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. So not only do the children have a responsibility to honor the mother, but the mother must also be virtuous to be able to deserve those things. And I think there are many women that have displayed themselves as virtuous to all of us.
Yeah, I'm going to hit on a few.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yep.
Of course, one of them being my own mother. You know, I don't want to leave her out for anything.
No, I don't want to leave her out. She's one of mine as well.
Yes, you know, my fond memories basically is she would always sew me in her matching clothes. I mean, logically as a child, you're kind of like, I don't want to match my mother.
Yeah. As an adult, you still think the same thing.
Yeah. I think cherish the memory more.
It is, yeah, it is. It's very, very special.
Yes, very.
But taking me to church was the greatest thing my mom had ever done. So I'm very, very thankful for my Christian heritage. But also there's a few, unfortunately, that are no longer with us. That's special to me was Sister Donna Atkins. She was always a great supporter of me and Gary. One fond memory of her, she would always go to the Pepperidge Farm in Willard or whatever, and she would bring me a bag of the orange Milano cookies. Wow, I was like, bless her heart. They were so good. Now, another sister in our church actually does that. It's like, listen, I got to get this fatness
Somebody
up.
picked up the baton for you.
Exactly. And Sister Betty Kinney, we all love her to death. I knew her since I was a little girl. We went to church with her. There's a little white church down the road from where our church that we're at now is, and we went to her church for many, many years as a little girl. And she lived not far from the church. And I remember her and Bernie, when they started coming to the church, she said she had a dream and she felt like God was telling them to come to the church or whatever. And I was just ecstatic because after being with her for so long as a little girl and now to be an adult, you know, and the pastor's wife, having them sit amongst our congregation was so special. But she always stood out to me because she always treated me and Gary like her own kids. Of course, you know, she was one of our better cooks in the church. So her chicken and dumplings actually was absolutely delicious. But after the meals, she would always make sure she would tell Gary, and she'd always come to me and she says, I got you guys some food set aside to make sure you take it home. And we would eat good.
Do you remember the one time she accidentally put the wrong food coloring in?
Yes.
She accidentally put, instead of yellow, she put red, I think.
Yeah,
and
they ended up being
made
pink. Yes, but they were still good. They tasted very, very well.
We had pink chicken and dumplings.
Yeah, but that's all right. And then we have our dear sister Eula Richardson. She was the oldest member and mother we had in our church. My kids always teased and said that she had to be God's sister.
Yep.
And let me tell you, it sure seemed like it,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
So these women stand out to me because of how they lived their life, not for show, but we could see that Christ lived in them.
Yes.
It's their love of Christ and the little things that they did and how we were all treated by these women that make them special.
Yes, definitely.
Being a mom was always my dream.
Well, when you have such good kids.
How could it not be,
As a
right?
little girl. And God blessed me to birth two precious children, this being one of them. But I was blessed to be a mother figure to so many others. When the kids lived at home, we had kids over all the time, and we absolutely loved it. I did anyway. I love watching my kids and their families now, but I sure do miss my babies being at home. Rachel knows that all the time. Not, even though she doesn't come visit as much as she said, but that's okay. She's got a busy life. We love her there.
Suddenly don't want to be on this podcast anymore.
Suddenly I'm out.
But I'm thankful for what God is doing in my kids' lives, and I love watching them grow in Him. I can't say I've been the best mom at all, and Rachel can attest to that. But I do enjoy being their mom, and I hope I have instilled in them the love of Jesus and how important it is to have a personal relationship with Him.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing too.
Yeah.
I too have many women in the church that I look to as mother figures. My grandma is actually the one that raised me. So I lost my mom because she passed away several years ago. My grandma.
Yeah.
So I've went through a lot of things in this life without having a mom by my side. And so the women of the church have really, really stepped up to the plate and been there for me. Several women, Sister Dottie, I call her Ma, and Sister Betty Sorrell, Pastor Gary's mom.
Yep.
Wilma, and what was that?
Oops, I forgot it. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll bring her up and then you
Okay,
can.
you're good. Her too.
Yeah. Sister Velvet, just, and now, we have Charlene and, I don't want to really miss anybody. It's so hard when
It's
you
hard
start
to,
naming.
Sister Wilma, and just hard to.
Yeah, every single one of the women in the church are very, very dear. And
course.
we are very blessed church
In their
to
own
have.
way, they all have different things, that we love about them.
And I don't think
so.
that any one of them, like if I were to call them, like none of them would be like, no, I can't help you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It would be like, okay, well, what do we need to do? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and everyone is like that. And being a mom myself, I've always wanted. That's what I wanted to be, was a mom. God blessed me with three beautiful children and wonderful children, and all serving the Lord. And now 2 of those have spouses, Rachel being one of them. I'm just very, very, very blessed. And I, again, too, haven't always been the best mom. You can stop me at any point. No, Mom.
You were the best.
Pushed behind it.
Oh, that was so loving.
But being a mom is very special, and it's something that the world does not
Right.
take. It doesn't look at motherhood and think that it's a blessed position anymore. That's really, really sad to me, and that's where we as Christians need to step up to the plate and say, we're going to make this different.
Yeah.
She's getting antsy. Poor thing.
You want to
Now,
sit on my
guess
lap?
what?
I think it's your turn.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
All right, we're going to talk. Since Juliet's been wanting to be on our podcast for a while now, we thought we'd bring her on and ask her a few questions about her fun times with her mom.
Yep.
What do you think about that? Let's get this microphone set up for me and you. How's that?
So, Juliet,
All right.
I have a question. What are some things that moms do? Like, not dads, but moms. What do moms do?
Not just necessarily your mom, but all moms that you can think of.
Go to work.
They go to work. Yep.
They do.
Some moms, some moms go to
do.
work. Some moms work at home. What's
Like
something
mom.
else? What?
Like my mom.
Like your mom? Yep. Yep.
You get to go to work sometimes and see mommy, don't you?
Yep. That's fine. Yep. So no matter where they're at, they work, huh?
Yeah. They work at home too. Huh.
Sometimes when she's like sick.
Okay.
When she's
How
sick.
about we don't touch the mic? How's that? Will that work? All right.
So, do you know? Listen, let me ask you this question, Juliet. Do you know who your mommy's mommy is?
So you call her grandma. but
So
it's
who's
mommy's mom.
who's
See
your
what it
mommy's
is?
mommy?
Mommy.
No.
Who's your mommy's
Who's
mommy?
mommy's mom?
Christine.
Yep, Grandma Christine is your
job.
mommy's mommy. Yep.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Are you ready? Linda, honey. She loves it when I started doing that to her home. Exactly. What?
Way too close.
Okay, well, we can scoot it back. Okay. What is one thing you absolutely love doing with mom?
Painting.
Painting.
Ooh, you like to paint? That sounds fun.
And we painted in Sunday school today.
Did you?
Ooh.
Oh. Do you remember mommy's favorite color?
Purple.
Purple. Good job.
And blue.
And blue. Really? I didn't know that part. Okay. You had told me mommy would sing to you at night. What was the Christmas song that mommy would sing to you at Christmas time? Do you remember every night before you went to bed? Do you remember?
Pom-pom.
The drummer boy. I was saying, I told Gary, I says, I'm going to ask Juliet this question. I'm like, I'm not sure I remember the I thought it was drummer boy, but I wasn't for sure. All right. Do you and mommy jam out in the car with your music blasted when it's just you and mommy in the car? Do you tell mommy, turn that radio up like you do me? I thought you told me that you and mommy jam out in the car. Come on. I know better. Okay, this is the last question for me, okay? What is your favorite movie that you and mommy have watched together? Do you remember?
We haven't watched one without Daddy before.
Well, it's okay. You could have watched it with Daddy too. What's a favorite movie that you've watched with mommy and Daddy then?
I have two favorite ones.
Okay, tell us.
So, Lion King and Jasmine.
Lion King and Aladdin.
Aladdin. Ooh, Aladdin's one of my favorite.
Have you
movies,
watched
too.
the cartoon Lion King or both of them? You don't remember? Okay.
So, Juliet, what is your favorite thing about your mommy? What's your favorite thing about her?
She goes to work every day.
That's your favorite thing? I would think that you would like something like her hair or something. Don't you think she has beautiful hair?
When she spends time
Yeah,
with you
she does.
outside.
Yeah.
She thinks beautiful.
Also those things.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Also those things. Yeah. It's kind of hard when we put her on the spot.
I know, right? She didn't get to prepare for none of this stuff, right?
I know my brain stops sometimes when people ask me things.
Thought there was more. But
Well, there is.
okay.
Because what I sent.
Yeah, I know.
I think it was for the ladies.
Yeah.
That's why we had them on here.
Yep. So
Hello.
Now it's just to remember.
So being a mom, what is one thing? So we've done a real bang up job at being a mom.
I mean, we're still here.
I know you're still here. You're still here. But being a mom yourself, what are some things that maybe you have, like thought that you would do different than what we do, but you actually find yourself doing the same exact thing?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of some things that you did that, like, because I'm not one to really fight against something. Does that make sense? So, like, if it's a tried and true thing, I'm kind of one of like, being like, okay, maybe that will work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, a lot of advice that I get from like you and Dad both, I usually take in because it's helpful.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess maybe like one of the things is like, I don't know if it's necessarily you guys, but your generation constantly thinks they have to have socks on. They constantly have to be swaddled in something. Like, they're fine.
I know that you're not talking to me because what I do.
No, you take his socks off.
Yeah.
But it's not you guys, but your generation, it is.
Yeah.
It's always where's the socks on that baby?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no socks on the baby.
Rachel?
I don't know. Nothing comes to mind specifically. You just did such a good job.
I do everything the same as you.
I try to be just like you.
Listen, Linda, honey.
I think the main point to remember when you're talking about being a mom is I just had this discussion with Jamie yesterday. It's not glamorous.
Yeah.
Being a mom is not glamorous. And that's something that I try to tell to Rachel and to Jenny and to you, that it's just not. If you really think that it's going to be glamorous, you're barking up the wrong tree. And it's not going to be what do we like to say? It's not going to be not only glamorous, it's not going to be how you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
So you say this is how it's going to be, but then your child is going to be like, nope, we're going to do this over here.
Well, think about how many women are like, I am not giving my child any processed food, or I'm not going to let them watch any TV. And then you look over at them and they're, 6 months old watching TV. Yeah.
Eating French fries.
Eating French fries. And I think that's the
All
thing
the
is,
cheese you can eat.
I think the problem is that, especially now in this day and age, and it's for everything, it's not just mothers, but like social media really does glamour everything.
Yes.
It really does. You see the clean house.
Yep.
You see the dinner being cooked.
Yep.
With no kids running all over you and doing all these different things, asking 5,000 questions.
Right.
You don't see the late nights. And some influencers are trying to show those things, but that's the thing. It's someone's not gonna be like, look at my baby's poop up their back. You know what I mean? That's not what they're doing. They're like, look how beautiful my baby is, even though when you turn around, there's poop all over the back. And so I think we all just need to be, just like what you said, Christians need to embrace motherhood as it is, not what everybody's trying to make it to be.
Not the Hollywood parenthood.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing you guys love about being a mom? Rachel, since you haven't talked a whole lot yet, so it's your turn.
There's a lot of things I like. about
Well,
being a
give
mom.
us more than one then. That'd be great.
Jamie is a rainbow because it gives me time to think.
Would you like me to ramble?
Yeah, go ahead.
As long as you answer, we're good.
So honestly, for me, my favorite, part of being a mom is that kind of like what I really enjoy. Just watching him change. Right now, so he's 6 months old, and so he's at this stage of life where he's changing weekly, daily,
Yes.
And so I like seeing the new things he can do. I'll walk over and be like, "You weren't able to do that yesterday." I really like
Who are you?
the changing, the seeing what he's going to be, seeing his personality shine.
Mm-hmm.
Was that enough time to ramble?
I was not. I have 3 kids to compare it to. You, and he doesn't. He's neither.
You have plenty of
I
stuff
know.
to
That's
talk
what I'm thinking. Narrow it down.
You can see more than one.
As with being homeschooling and stuff, I love seeing them aha moments in their life of seeing things finally click or whatever, and getting to know that I got to have a hand in that. I got to teach them that. I love one-on-one time with them.
Yeah.
I know everything. I love everything about
Good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yep. Because even the stuff that's not so pleasant
Yeah.
turns out to be a blessing anyways.
Yeah.
I think that's what
So, your oldest is 8, which is...
I know. I'm not old enough to have it.
I know, right? I mean, I think about that. Is there anything, through these 8 years of being a mother that you've regretted?
Oh yeah, lots.
Well, you can give us 1 or 2. Or...
So I don't know. 31. I used to sell 31 to try to compensate so I could stay at home, and that kind of looking back, I feel like I devoted too much time to that and not enough time to enjoying the boys when they were little. It was a really hard time when they were little because
They're so close
they were
together.
both so
Yeah.
so close together.
right.
And I was also trying to do this side hustle, so I kind of regret that.
I don't know why.
And homeschooling was really rough in the beginning. Me and Kason fought every day. And he used sometimes they're like, "Mom, you remember you used to yell and stomp because you got mad at us?" Yeah, Jesus has been working on me.
Nothing from the Peanut Gallery, who is the person that's recording us right now.
I have a lot of regrets, but
You did the same thing. She was never like that to you.
Exactly.
I think he thought you were trying to put him under the bus.
Linda, honey.
All right, ladies. What is one piece of biblical advice that you would love to give the new mothers, young mothers, or whatever?
Patience is a virtue.
Yes.
slow down.
Yeah.
Listen. Please. You're crazy.
You only get that age once, and I think that's such a cliche, but this summer I'll only have an 8, a 7, and a 3-year-old once in my life.
Yep.
And so you can't get that back. You can't get that time back. And so you really need to slow down and enjoy the never-ending,
Each moment.
unpotty trainable children. All of the things, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just slow down and enjoy them because they're going to be gone
Yeah,
soon.
actually, I was just listening to it was something on Instagram or whatever, but she was saying that kids are not ours. the Lord has given them to us on borrowed time.
Yes.
And so you're supposed to treat them like you're not just raising your child, you're raising the child of the king. And so you're supposed to put that time and effort, but don't waste it because you only have this amount of time to do it in. It's on borrowed time. It's loaned to you, basically.
I think too, one thing I've learned just this past week, the week before, I think I tend to focus on like the negative side of what I do and how I act, and so I tend to get upset over like tiny things, and like I don't stay mad.
Yeah.
But, like I'll like get upset and say something, and I feel like that's what the kids focus on. And so recently I was asking the kids, like, when you think of mommy, like what do you think of? Like, do you think of like she's always angry? Do you think she gets upset a lot? Like, what do you? And
I don't want to ask my kids that
That's
question.
important.
yeah, because I really want to know. I really want to know what they thought. And they're like, well, you dance all the time and you sing and you act crazy. And Kari's like, you love Jesus. And like, they are focused on the good
Yes.
things. They're
Yeah.
not only focused on the bad. So remember just to live your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. They're watching all of it,
Yes.
not just focused on the bad.
So I'm going to ask you that question about me, since you know.
Oh no. What do I think when I think of my mom?
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for watching.
The fifth has been pleaded.
Catch you on the flip side.
Now or like when I was little?
When you were little, what do you remember? What's one?
Then the honey.
Let's see what Rachel has to say about this.
Well,
Not put her on the spot.
we were always like, no matter what, like I think we were different because whenever Dad would go preach somewhere, we all went all the time. Like I feel like when I think of other preachers, they're by themselves.
Right.
So you were always by Dad's side and everything. That's a good one. We're just gonna stick. with it.
Are you going to ask me the question?
Then the
Yeah.
honey.
What she said.
Listen.
So here's the thing. When I was younger, I think that for me, like it was a lot of things I didn't understand. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that for you grew up and had like for me, like I have you to help me with Tolkien.
Yeah.
And like again, you lost your mom figure
Right.
really young. So like it was a learning curve for you. Because you didn't have, besides your grandma, you didn't have like a great mother figure.
Right.
So you were learning how to be a mom. Do you know what I mean? And so like, I think for me, I just didn't understand a lot of things. I was like, why you get, like, I did think that you got angry a lot, like when we were younger. But again, we were with you all the time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was you thinking?
I can say that to the people.
But like, but
I
here's
think
the
I've
thing.
talked about my temper before.
But
We're
here's the
good.
thing is that like, it wasn't always that way. But like I do remember times of being like, why is she so angry? But like you had a lot of stuff that you had to go through on your own. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so now as an adult, I'm like, oh man, she needed help. Like you know what I mean? Like even though I'm only 6 months into this,
Yeah.
like I can see that like you didn't have the same support system as I do currently. And so while yes, when I was young, I was like, that doesn't really make any sense. But now it's not a bad memory of you. Does that make sense? It's
Yep.
it's a learning curve. Like it's just like
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole thing of how she was like Kari's like you love Jesus. I'm like she was learning. She was trying to figure out navigate not only for like family, secular family, but she was also the pivotal person for us to be into church.
Right.
Because Dad didn't go to church at first. Like you and Grandpa were the ones that were like
Yeah. Well, it's because Dad was working. Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's like not only were you trying to figure out how to be a family in just a normal sense, but you were also trying to figure out how to bring all of us closer to God.
Listen, I'm glad that you're saying this because now I understand why I'm so tired.
But I think that's the thing. I think we don't give ourselves grace when we need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so I think that was the time for you. You weren't giving yourself grace
Right.
in that time.
Yeah.
You wanted things to be a
I
certain
still
way.
don't.
Yeah, and that's
still
everybody's
don't,
like that.
yeah.
But yeah, so there were times where I was like, why are you angry all the time? But then there was also like as I got older, I realized it wasn't that you were angry all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You were trying to do what was right, and sometimes when you're doing what's right, it's hard to navigate.
Well, when you don't get saved until later
Later.
on in life, and you're trying to be what God wants you to be, I didn't have I didn't have that pattern to
Yeah.
go by. So it created a lot of like warring inside of
Yes.
myself because your flesh wants to do this, but you know what God's telling you
Yep.
is this.
and
So,
you got to think family too.
and
Like
then
our-
nobody's like, yeah, you need to do that. You know what I'm saying?
you didn't have family that was in your corner being like, yeah, take them to church. This is how you raise them godly. This is how you do that. You didn't have that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that was just learning curve. And I actually, Lucas said it the other day. What was it that you said? You're like, our childhood was what? What did you say? Was pretty. Oh, what was it? Oh, it was some kind of new term slang that you used. Some of the,
kinda-
you know what I'm talking about? We were sitting in
kinda
the car and you were like,
Gucci.
our childhood was like good, but like I don't remember what word you said. You did. I think you said you were like childhood was pretty not dope. I don't know what you said. Like it was something. It was like I don't remember.
And so like, no matter what, you guys serving God and that being the thing was the most important thing to me. And I take credit for all of the bad stuff that you guys have ever done or been. I take credit for that because that's of me. But everything that you guys do as good kids, like all three of you are good kids and you're on a good path, and I'm so thankful for that. I can't take any credit for that. That's all credit to God because that's what he's doing in your life. But I just feel like we all have a part to play. You know, and where our kids are at. So.
But you did that so that I'm able to have an easier time.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You walked so I could run, and so that later on Tolkien can be what he's supposed to be.
Yep. And I have no regrets about that. I think it's a good life.
Yep.
Anything? You're good?
I wanted to add just a little something.
Yeah.
Sprinkling of evil. No, what it was is when you said earlier about the how God kind of portrays himself as a mother, but it's a he in the Bible, but he has the personifications of a mother. That's because God is we're made in the likeness of him, man and woman. And so we can't be perfect. Like man and woman cannot be perfect. So we are halves of each other. So that's the reason why there's supposed to be a man and a woman inside of a household. That's why there's a mom and there's a dad.
Right.
Like you are this part of God and he is this other part of God.
Right.
And you come together.
Yes.
And that's
and
how
God
that works.
gets to be all of that.
Yeah.
She's having a time over here. You're fine.
Some deep theology.
You're fine.
You know, I'm making your face.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, no, I'm dead now.
Do you want to say something?
You say I love you, mommy?
We'll see you in the next podcast, and I love you, Mommy.
Good job.
All right. So I guess she just wrapped it up for us.
Yeah.
Until next
leaving.
time. And she's gone.
Goodbye.
See ya. All right. Until next time. See ya.